Hello, this is Nicole Peterman of ZenRed NYC, and welcome to your training Center Stage and In Demand, where you are learning how to step into the spotlight, be booked consistently, and actually earn what you're worth. We are diving into actionable steps that you can take right away. We're unleashing those industry secrets, and we are actually bringing to light this whole mystery around how to be in demand. Ultimately, we are setting you up for success. So today, center stage, we have the luminous Amy Zellmer. She is an award-winning author, speaker, and creative business coach. She is a frequent contributor to the Huffington Post and been a guest on numerous national radio shows and podcast series. In November 2015, she released her first book, Life with a Traumatic Brain Injury: Finding the Road Back to Normal, which received a silver award at the Midwest Book Awards in May 2016. Additionally, she has a podcast series for TBI survivors and their loved ones. She travels the country with her Yorkie Pixie and Instagrams her journeys. She's addicted to Starbucks coffee and Miss Me jeans and all things glittery. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you for having me, Nicole.
Thank you for being here, and I love glittery things too.
Yeah, it just makes life more fun.
It's so much fun. The yoga studio that I go to here in New York City is called Laughing Lotus, and they literally have glitter like in the floor.
That's
like they've
awesome.
shellacked it in, so it's like, it's one of
Kind
my
of brilliant.
Yeah. So Amy, I would love for you to talk a little bit about your story, because what I feel you are a superhero at, what I feel you have to offer our audience today, is the ability to take their story and do something with it, but do something with it in a sustainable way. So really stepping into the spotlight with your story. So I would love for you to begin by sharing a little bit about yours.
Well, just to give you a little background on who I am, I began my career as a photographer back in 1996. So I've had 20 years experience running my own business. And in about 2009, I started coaching other photographers, which then led me to just coaching other creative entrepreneurs in general, because I realized that what I was teaching didn't apply to one specific niche. It could be applied across the board to anyone running their own business. And then you mentioned a little bit in my intro, in 2014, I slipped on the ice and I landed on my head and I suffered a traumatic brain injury. So I'm now 2.5 years out from my brain injury, and I had to take a good 1.5, 2 years off from coaching, just because I couldn't do it anymore. And now I'm back at it, which I'm very, very thankful for. But I took that story of falling on the ice. It took me a year to get to a point where I could talk about it to people. Because, it was just like, when I fell, it was just like, okay, universe, what are you telling me? Like, I knew that I fell for a reason. I mean, everything happens for a reason. And I really believe the universe was guiding me and wanted me to tell my story and to help other people going through a similar situation. So I started blogging about what happened to me on my 1-year anniversary of my fall. And a really good friend encouraged me to submit it to Huffington Post. And I did, and they accepted it. And so I've probably written like about 20 posts about traumatic brain injury. And again, the universe guided me in the right direction, and I found a women's writing group, and they encouraged me to turn my blog posts into a book. And I was watching Sex and the City after this conversation happened, and it was the episode where Carrie is approached to turn her column into a book. And that was like, aha, like I get it. It all makes sense now. And so I took my blog posts and I worked with an editor, and we turned it into an actual book. And the process was so therapeutic. And the people that reached out to me, I mean, it's just been unbelievable to watch this whole journey people reach out to me because they've suffered a brain injury or a loved one suffered a brain injury. And other business people that I follow on Facebook, like we've never met in person, we don't really know each other, but they'll reach out to me and be like, oh my gosh, one of my clients just had a brain injury. Can I put them in contact with you? And it's just been so like just incredible to watch this process happen and how social media pulls us together. And, you know, when you allow yourself to be vulnerable and put it out there, it's just amazing what the universe gives back to us. So, you know, it's all been such amazing lessons to add to my coaching business. You know, like, I mean, the more life lessons you deal with, the more you can help someone else with theirs, right? I mean, you understand that.
Deeply.
So it's just been an incredible journey. And I'm just so honored that I'm able to share my journey with other people through my book and through my blog and through advocacy efforts. So
thank you so much for sharing that. And I would love for you to talk about that moment when your friend said, you should share this. And I'm curious if you went through a moment of, I don't know, and how will this be? And then how you were able to get to that place of just send it, publish, send, you know, get to that other side. You know what I mean?
Well, my first reaction was like, why? Like, why would anyone want to read this? Like, I basically wrote it because when I first fell, and a lot of people kind of like, people who I thought were close friends were kind of like, it's just a concussion, get over it. Oh my God, why are you still dealing with this? It's been 6 weeks. And so I originally wrote it as kind of like you guys, this is what's happening. You know, like that's where it came from, a place of like, understand me, understand what that's happening. And so once I wrote it, you know, like I said, I put it on my own blog, and my friend said, you should submit this to Huffington Post. And I'm like, why? Who cares? Like, who's going to read this? And that first piece that I wrote, Nicole, within like a couple hours of it going live, it had a couple hundred likes on it. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Because, you know, on Facebook, if I got a couple hundred likes, I'd be like stoked.
Yeah.
And then it was 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. It's up to like almost 40,000 likes on Huffington Post. So that just tells you how many people it resonated with and how many people connected with that story. And that's what people write to me. You know, they're like, thank you for sharing your story. You know, I've used your story to share with my family and friends to help them understand what I'm going through. So the fact that I'm able to kind of be a voice for people who can't voice what they feel, it's pretty incredible. It's an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, it's like the initial need that you had for yourself to say, guys, this is what's really going on. Hear me, hear me, hear me.
Yes.
You end up resonating with the audience that has the exact same need. And I hope everyone's hearing this right now.
Yes. And I didn't think, I mean, you know, it's so weird what your brain goes through, because I didn't think there was anyone else out there feeling what I felt. And, you know, all of a sudden there's like thousands of likes on this article, and it was like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. There's all these people that have gone through this. And, you know, it was such a light bulb moment, I guess. You know, that proverbial light bulb went on.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of at. Because it's like, once you're on the other side of it, you have the evidence.
Yeah.
Right. You have the validation, but
yes.
you had to actually go through the action first. Because I think about some of the people in my tribe and some of my clients are really in that place of they're right there on the edge, but they're scared.
It is.
You know, they're scared to come into the spotlight with what is vulnerable to them. They know that they have something to give, and they know they have a powerful story. But I guess my question is, how do you help your clients?
Yeah, you know, we get those, well, what if nobody reads it? What if nobody cares? What if nobody understands it? What if, you know, we get all those little fears going on inside our own head. Yeah. And with this piece, I didn't have those fears like I've had with other things that I put out there, but it was still scary. It was like, oh my gosh, now everybody's going to know what happened to me. But once it was out there, like you said, once you get that validation from other people, it's like, okay, this is what I was meant to do. And it's really powerful, and you just have to get out of your own head. And I know the fears are really scary, and they can be paralyzing, and they can really hold you back from your full potential. And so with my own clients, I would really work on, like, what's really scaring you? Are you scared of being successful? Because usually people think they're scared of failure, but in reality, they're scared of success. What does the world look like if you're successful? To be really, really honest, the past few weeks I have dealt with, what am I trying to say? I've dealt with some of that, like what celebrities go through. Like, the more you put yourself out there and the more people know who you are, the more haters you get. And so I've been dealing with what I were calling bullies, because that's essentially what it is. And so I've had to deal with that. And it was really hard, and it really got me down emotionally. I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't what I should be doing. And I sat back and went, no, this is a test. The universe is testing me. It's making sure that I'm strong enough to go to that next level. Because the more you put yourself out there, the more people know who you are, and the more people, some people want to take things away from you, no matter what it is that you do, no matter what business it is. If you're a coach, if you're a yoga instructor, no matter what you do, there's always someone out there who wants to try and take that away from you, as unfortunate as that is. And so once, you just kind of got to, like, sit back. Okay, now the universe is testing me. The universe has my back. I can get through this. That person's problem is their own problem. It's not my problem.
Yeah.
What they're hating about me, they're actually hating about themselves. You know what I mean? And I hate to use the word hate because it's a strong word, but that's, these haters, that they're bullies, and they're trying to knock you down. And that's definitely one side effect of success. The more successful you are, the more those people come out of the woodwork. And it's pretty powerful to have that aha moment. Like, you know what, their issue is their issue, not my issue. And that's really powerful. That's powerful, to be able to really just acknowledge that.
Yeah, it's like bringing a moment of compassion and empathy in, because they're getting triggered. They're seeing your ability to share something vulnerable, and that you are on the other side of it, and maybe they are feeling so they're not there yet. They're not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. They're like where you were before, and they're feeling, it's almost highlighting. It's like when someone says to you, I believe in you, and it just feels horrible because you're like, but I don't believe in myself.
Yeah.
So I love that you're bringing up this very valuable tool to deal with the spotlight as you share your story, to recognize that it's going to resonate with people, but in different ways.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Yes. And that you can lay some boundaries with grace, and that's part of it.
Yeah. And, like I was saying before, people have this fear of success, and they don't realize, they think that they have a fear of failure, that they don't want to fail. But it's actually, they have a fear of success, because like I said, the more successful you get, the more you put yourself out there, the more vulnerable you are. But that's when you become more authentic too. And that's when people connect with you. When you let that vulnerability show and that authenticity shines through, that's when those potential clients can really connect with you.
And especially in the written word.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we're going to be specifically talking to our audience right now that are writers, whether they're working on a novel or a blog or their book, I would love for you to speak a little to that, about why it is vital and crucial to be honest and authentic in your writing.
Yes. You know, the more authentic you can be in your writing, the more people are going to connect with you. They're going to get you. They're going to understand what you're going through, even if they've never been through it. Like in my case, I've had loved ones and caregivers reach out to me. They're like, thank you. I finally get what, you know, Susie is going through. So even, you know, if they weren't directly your perfect client, like indirectly they found you because of that, and they're able to connect with you. And the more you can write, you know, whether it's on your own blog or if you're doing weekly emails, whatever it is, just write your own story. Share your own experience. Share something that's happened to you in your business. Maybe you had a major fail on the launch of a product. You know, share that. Write about that. Be vulnerable. Be authentic. You know, it's scary to say, yeah, I tried to launch this product and nobody bought it. It sucks. But if you're able to share that, there's somebody else out there that has had that happen. And they're like, yes, oh, it's not just me. So, you know, making that connection, and it gets people to trust you too. When you're being vulnerable and authentic, it gets people to trust you and want to do business with you.
Thank you. Thank you for just saying that, because that was going to be the next question, is how to take that for that next step. So people understand that we're not just talking about, of course, you have to feel good about what you're doing, right? As a creative, when you are writing, this is a sacred act. This is something that's important to you. But if you want it to be sustainable, if you want to be making a living from your work and what you're putting out in some sort of written word, can you talk about why it is so important as far as like tangibly earning money and having a business to write vulnerably and share these things?
Mm-hmm. You know, what am I trying to say? You know, so I have this book that I've written about my experience with brain injury. And I originally wrote it with the intention of survivors, caregivers reading it, letting them understand what they're going through. But it's led me on like a whole other journey of connecting with other business people who love to write. You know, so many of us have a story inside of us, whether it's a business story or a personal story. You know, maybe you've recently been through a divorce. You know, how many people can relate to that? You know, and I know there's 101 books out there about divorce and, you know, dating again after divorce. But what do you bring to the table that's different? You know, there's going to be something that you've experienced that's going to connect with somebody else. And having that book is so powerful. You know, people really connect with each other through writing and video. Video is also very, very powerful. But, you know, we're not going to take a video feed with us everywhere we go. So a book is something that, you know, you can take to the beach. You can read it on your lunch break, you know, whatever. So a book is so powerful. And, you know, it can be a marketing tool, you know, especially, you know, maybe you're a yoga instructor. And so you want to write your own personal journey of why you connected with yoga in the first place. Like for me, for instance, yoga helped me in my recovery after my brain injury. You know, maybe that's a book, you know, why I became a yoga instructor. I'm not a yoga instructor. I'm just making an example. But, you know, maybe if you're a yoga instructor, that's something that you write and you're going to have people connect with you on such a different level. And, you know, maybe there's somebody out there that teaches yoga that's been through my exact journey, and I'm going to connect with them and I'm going to want to coach under them to learn how to become a yoga instructor. Does that make sense? Like it's really powerful. And, you know, it takes a lot of work to write a book. And fortunately, I had written blog posts and without even the intention of writing a book.
Yeah.
So we were able to take those and turn it into a book. But, you know, you could be more intentional about it if you want to go forward with writing a book and break it into blog posts. You know, and you need to grow your audience as you go. And growing your audience takes work, but it can be fun. And it can be exciting. It can be whatever you want to make it. And so growing your audience, so when you're ready to put that book out there, you have people already who are interested in it. And I did mine via Kickstarter, which is, it's a fabulous way to crowdfund the money to produce your book. Mm-hmm. Plus, it's another marketing platform because people who are on Kickstarter will see it who might not even be following you on Facebook or Twitter or wherever else you are. So Kickstarter is a great tool. It takes a lot of work to do a Kickstarter, but it's worth it. And I kind of lost my train of thought where I was going with that.
That's all right. Well, I mean, you're talking about...
I get real excited talking about that. So.
Me too. I have two questions. And the first one, I guess, because you're just talking about Kickstarter and crowdfunding. So for those of our audience right now, they're like, I have a creative project and I need to do crowdfunding. Are there any tips that you have that worked for you to make Kickstarter successful?
Yeah. So crowdfunding is a really great way if you don't have the money up front to fund a book or a product. So Kickstarter has to actually be a product that you're putting out there. Whether it's a book or maybe you developed, a new product line, whatever that might be. But Kickstarter requires a product. But there's also Indiegogo is out there. That's another one you can use. And I mean, there's always GoFundMe, which GoFundMe is a little more associated with fundraising opposed to putting a product out there. Okay. But there's several platforms out there that you can use. So if you're not familiar with it, you basically put your product to some of the reward levels and people back your project. And with Kickstarter, it's all or nothing. So if you don't reach your goal, you get none of the money. You have to reach your goal to get the money. But Kickstarter is the most known and trusted crowdfunding out there, where Indiegogo isn't quite as known. Indiegogo, you do get your money. I mean, even if you only raise half your goal, you'll get that money. So there's pros and cons, but I prefer to Kickstarter. What was the other part of your question?
I was just curious if you had any tips about how Kickstarter was successful for you. Because, excuse me, I'm hearing that you were able to meet your goal.
Yes. So think creatively with your reward levels. So I think, at $5, it was like a virtual high five. $10, you got a PDF copy of my book. At $20, you got a copy of the book. And some people would stop there. And it's like, no, think much more creatively. So, like at $100, you got 5 copies of my book. I think at $1,000, I did a virtual book party via Skype, and they got 10 copies of the book. Right? Think out of the box.
Yes.
And so, and then I had a $2,000 level with an in-person book party. And I had people, and I also had 500, 250, I had all these numbers. But people bid on, or I shouldn't say bid, they backed it at those levels. So people were definitely interested and they believed in my product, my book. So they were willing to back it. So get creative with those reward levels. I think at 500, it was coffee with the author if they lived locally, I threw those in at the last minute, and I'm so glad I did because people backed at those levels.
These are great. And audience, please press pause, go back, grab a pen and paper, because Amy, you just gave such a golden nugget, because I have so many friends that have done Indiegogo and have done Kickstarter, and I see the levels, but it stops at a certain point.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if it's stopping at the point that they think it's not going to happen.
You never know who's out there.
You know what I mean? Oh, no one's going to spend $2,000. It's yeah, they are. If you've got this awesome, I'll come to your home, we'll have our own book party. Brilliant idea.
Yeah.
I love that. So here's my other question for you. I'm sure you see this with your clients all the time, that there will be creatives, and let's say maybe they're performers or something, and they don't have a blog. And so I would love for you to just take a minute and just explain the importance of a blog and what it can do for those that are like, I don't need that. How's that going to help?
Okay. Do we have an hour? No. So I started blogging back in about 2003.
Okay.
I don't know if any of you remember Zanga. That was like the original blogging platform. And it was actually the original social media before Facebook. It was, you could follow each other and like, yeah. So that's how long I've been blogging. Blogging is so important. And it doesn't have to be long. People think like they have to write this long thing. And it doesn't have to be long. It can be like 200-300 words. My original Huffington Post piece, that was like 1,200 words. So it was longer, but I had a lot to say. But you can say a lot in like 300 words. And to have pictures on your blog, whether they're of you or they're of something pertinent or, you know, maybe they're inspirational, but having a picture to go with it, because as you know, when you share on your Facebook feed or your Twitter feed, that picture generates. So it needs to be something interesting that people are like, hey, what's that?
Yeah.
And then accompany it with video. If you're more of a video person, put some video on your blog and, you know, speak it. But you should also write it. Whenever I do a video on my blog, I try to type out what I'm saying, or at least like the key points. So people don't want to take the time to watch it. They can, you know, get the Cliff Note version.
Yep.
And I take my blog and I email it to my list. So when I have a new blog post, I'll email either the whole thing, or if it's a longer post, I'll email part of it with a link, you know, click here to read the rest.
Yeah.
So if someone's interested in you, but you don't have a blog, you don't have anything for them to get to know you, it's hard for them to get to know you. So, you know, think of your blog as dating almost. It's a way for someone to kind of go through and see what you're about and see what you believe in. And, you know, some people are very sterile with their blog. It's like just all business. Like, this is what I do. And, you know, This is how you create a sales funnel, which is great and serves a purpose. But if that's not who you want to work with, you need to be sure that you're clear with who you want to work with and who you are, so they know they want to work with you. It's a two-way street.
Yeah. So you're starting to talk to it, but I love you talk about why it's a benefit for a creative to have a blog. Like why it is a crucial part of the toolkit.
Yep. You know, I keep using yoga as an example, but, you know, if you're a yoga instructor, you know, maybe each day or once a week, I think you should blog at least 2 to 3 times a week, if nothing else, once a week. But maybe you blog, you know, you have a picture of you in a yoga pose and then you talk about that yoga pose. Maybe you're a jewelry designer. You post a picture of your beautiful jewelry and explain what the meaning is behind the jewelry and why you make that piece of jewelry. You know, whatever it is you do, or if you're a coach even, you know, this is why I coach. This is my story. This is one of my stories. You know, we have things happen to us every single day, right? That we can write about.
Yeah.
You know, you live in New York City. I mean, taking the subway can be a whole, you know, blog entry, you know, but like whatever it is, maybe you went to the store and you had a really rude cashier. And so maybe that's your opportunity to write about, you know, this was my experience, how, you know, maybe they were having a bad day and maybe this and maybe that, and we need to be compassionate and, you know, whatever it is that you believe in, tie that into a story, and it's extremely powerful.
Yes. And ultimately gets you in touch with your audience, which ends up making it like all one beautiful loop. It's like, okay, you have your audience, then they get on your blog, then they buy your products, you know, they buy your work, they buy your book. So it ends up being sustainable. So Amy, with all that said, this is the perfect segue into your free gift that you have for our audience here today. So let's talk about that.
it's a checklist. It's a very comprehensive checklist from blog to book.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a comprehensive checklist that takes you through self-publishing your own book. Or even if you're using a traditional publisher, it would still be a very helpful checklist for you. But it takes you through all the steps. There's so many moving parts to publishing a book that I had no idea about. And fortunately, I had an amazing group of women who were able to educate me and walk me through the process. So this is a great checklist. It has links and resources for you. Like you need an ISBN number. So there's a link for you to find how to get your ISBN number. It's really not hard, but you need one. So it's a great list for anyone who's thinking about it, or who's serious about it. Even if you're just kind of thinking about it, it's a great checklist to get so you can start thinking about those things as you continue blogging.
That's awesome. So for our audience, it's the link right below the video. It says free gift. Make sure that you click on this. Amy, you can hear the success that Amy has had, and she is now taking her experience and making it available for you so that you don't have to go through it, but you actually have the checklist to be able to deal with all of the moving parts. So thank you so much for that. What are other ways that our audience can connect with you?
You can follow me Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. It's at Amy Zellmer. My website's mycreativebizcoach.com. You can find me on Facebook. I'm very active on Instagram. That's my favorite place to be.
Okay. And Instagram is so popular and such
I love Instagram.
Fantastic social media tool right now. So that'll be great for people to connect with you in all of these ways. So Amy, before we close, do you have any parting thoughts you'd like to leave our audience with today?
Just keep telling your story, just being authentic, allow yourself to be vulnerable. I know it feels scary, but honestly, it's really liberating once you share. So just continue sharing that story.
Thank you so much, Amy, for your courage and for making the decision to share yours and opening up many others to understand from all levels, from people who have been through it and from the caregivers, like I said. So I thank you very much just from my own experiences. I really resonate with this. And for our audience, please make sure that you click on the link and download this and connect with Amy. She has so much to share. And if you really are on that cusp of, I have a story, Amy is your person. So thank you so much again for your time. And to our audience, this is Nicole Peterman of ZenRed NYC. And thank you for being here on the Center Stage and In Demand training. Keep an eye on your inbox for your next training. And I will see you soon. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you.